Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a Facebook Live on the Atik Mason Indigenous Pilot Pathway. My name is Jaden. I'm going to be hosting. We are going to be hearing from representatives from Manitoba, Kiiwetinoong, Ogomakanac, as well as the Exchange Income Corporation. You will hear us refer to them as MKO and EIC. Thank you to everyone that's tuning in. Here we have with me is Robin Jacuzzi, Atik Mason, and Kevin Carlson, all calling in from the Treaty 1 territory. Robin Jacuzzi is the Director of Aviation Programs at EIC, and Atik Mason is from St. Teresa Point First Nation, and he's a pilot at Perimeter. Kevin is the Assistant to Grand Chief Garrison City. So we are going to have time towards the end of this Facebook Live to answer any questions that you stick in the comments. So please feel free to ask anything that you'd like. And Kevin, would you like to start us off?
Well, thanks very much, Jaden, and it's good to see Atik and Robin again, although virtually. I can't tell you how excited I am to see this program going into its second year. I was chairing one of the assemblies last year. I think we were in Long Plains when Robin and Atik came and talk to the leadership about this, and then to see the response and be there for the graduation in Thompson last fall. I literally would not be joking when I said the sky is the limit for the youth in the MKO First Nations. So I'm excited to hear about the second chapter in this program.
Thank you, Kevin. I'll now introduce our first speaker from EIC, Robin. She's going to be sharing information about the Indigenous pathway, pilot pathway. Go ahead, Robin.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here today. It is a pleasure to get to tell you about the Atik Mason Indigenous Pilot Pathway. Some of you might have been familiar with the program last year, our inaugural year, as Kevin pointed out. We found the year to be a resounding success. So many people interested in applying, so many people participating in the program, and the support from all of the communities surrounding us and all of our villages. I mean, it was really exciting, overwhelming, and encouraging, and has made us just all very enthusiastic about this upcoming year. So what is the Indigenous Pilot Pathway? At its essence, the Indigenous Pilot Pathway is a fully funded opportunity for Indigenous people in Canada to learn how to fly airplanes, to become commercial pilots. So training from the very beginning, knowing absolutely nothing potentially about aviation, to literally sitting in the flight deck of a commercial airliner like Atik does. He flies for Perimeter, he flies the Dash 8. If you haven't heard him speak before, you'll get to speak with him soon here, and he'll tell you all about his journey. But it is Atik's journey that really formed the pathway that has created this program. His journey through, his roots, and then trying to get into flight training himself. His, for lack of better words, I keep saying journey, but journey through flight training, and then back to Perimeter, back to Manitoba, his hometown, flying for Perimeter and into the community of St. Teresa Point that is his home. So you'll learn more about that, and that that has been the inspiration for the Indigenous Pilot Pathway. We know that in Manitoba and throughout the country, there's a ton of interest in aviation, and especially if you're from a smaller community in Manitoba, the impact that aviation probably has had on your life is huge. And based on that, we know, as I said, that there's people interested in becoming pilots. But Tik's journey, as well as many others, has pointed out a few roadblocks for people to become pilots. One is certainly that becoming a pilot is expensive. Flight training is very, very costly. No matter where you do it, no matter who you are, it's very expensive. The other roadblock is that often it takes you far away from home. So if your home is Manitoba, a lot of flight training throughout the country isn't necessarily in Manitoba. Even the company within our family of Exchange Income Corporation, EIC company, is Moncton Flight College, is on the East Coast. So you're leaving Manitoba and you're traveling halfway across the country to receive training. So even if you do get over those two roadblocks or those two hurdles, the third is that you're removed from culture, and there isn't the same level of support that maybe you'd like to see when you do travel across the country to partake in flight training. So the Indigenous pilot pathway here in Manitoba has been set up and structured to overcome those challenges and to help support people through their flight training journey and journey to becoming a commercial pilot as best as we can. So number one, the entirety of the flight training program is completely fully funded. So it's free to you. If you apply and are accepted as a member to learn how to become a pilot, it is completely free. The second is that we've taken our flight school off the East Coast and we've relocated it in Manitoba, in the heart of northern Manitoba in Thompson. So it's on a seasonal basis. The flight school runs from May through the end of September every year. Of course, when it's nice, warm, sunny weather here in Manitoba, it's the best time to fly airplanes. So yeah, we've brought the flight school from the east right to our backyard to allow people to stay close to their families and close to their roots. And the third thing that I touched on is cultural support. So that's where our partnership with MKO comes into play, and our ability to, through our route network and our family of companies, Perimeter Aviation, Calm Air, Wasaya, Kuwait Air, all local companies, ability to help people stay connected to their friends and family. Even when they're in Thompson, if Thompson isn't your home, you still have the ability to travel home and see people and stay connected to your friends and family very easily through our route network. So those are three things that kind of set the tone for this whole experience, this whole program, and sort of set it apart. But into some of the nitty gritty and exactly what you can expect as an applicant and as a member of the program. If you do choose to apply, MKO has done a really great job of creating a website and a link to our application PDF. It looks like this. You'll see it electronically online. There's also some hard copies available in a few locations as well. But it provides program information as well as the application criteria and information on how to apply. But what you are applying for is to basically relocate to Thompson for the summer to partake in both academic training towards becoming a pilot. We call that ground school. That happens in a classroom. And that's where you learn basically the rules of the air. So you learn some air law, what you can and can't do. You learn about the weather. You learn about how airplanes fly, about the theory of flight, about aerodynamics. And you learn about human factors. So, the human element to flying and how our bodies and physiology kind of determines certain factors in aviation. So there's lots to learn on the ground. And that's an important thing to know, is that there is some classroom work associated with becoming a pilot, but then the really, really exciting stuff that most people get into flight training to do is actually to get behind the controls of an airplane and learn how to fly it. So in Thompson, through this program, we fly the Diamond DA-20. It's a single engine, 2-seat aircraft that is a really, really great training tool, a really great airplane in general, but awesome as a trainer. Big long wings. There's a couple pictures. If you again look at MKO's website and the publication, there's some great pictures of them in there. But you learn how to fly that. So you work with a flight instructor who is an experienced pilot who will train you how to fly the airplane, and then you'll eventually get to fly it on your own. And then over the course of the summer, you'll learn all of the different, we call them airwork exercises, but it's basically learning how to control the airplane in different ways and in different circumstances and different weather conditions, different types of wind, all the things you need to know basically in order to prepare you for your private pilot flight test. And that's what happens near the end of the summer. You write a written exam and you also do an in-air exam. And once both of those are complete, you've met the requirements to call yourself a pilot. You're officially a private pilot. And that is earned over the course of this summer. And what's really exciting about the pathway is that this summer in Thompson, we're not only offering private pilot training, which is the first step, but also commercial pilot training, which is the second step that follows your private training. Because of course, last year we had a ton of program participants, and we also saw so much success with people completing their flight tests. And over the course of, this fall and this winter, there are written exams as well. So we have a whole group of people who are returning this year to chip away at their commercial commercial flight training, which, as I said, is the step after private. So, if you do choose to apply this year, to start from the very beginning, you're going to be alongside some now experienced pilots who were part of the program last year to learn from, to help guide you as you begin your journey. And it's just going to create a really fun dynamic with, both levels of flight training available in Thompson. So that's also to say, if you are somebody out there who already holds a private pilot license, you've done that on your own or at a different time, you're also welcome to apply to the program this year for that commercial training to join that original initial group of people that are coming back. So we're offering both levels of training this year. Another couple things to expect if you do apply and get accepted into the program, inclusive of this fully funded experience, is somewhere to live. We know that not everybody's home is Thompson. In fact, most people's home is in Thompson. So when you do relocate to Thompson for the summer, we have crew member accommodations or program member accommodations. So these are townhouses that we've set up. They're comfortable, they're freshly furnished. You're living in there with your other program members, as well as an Indigenous leader named Darlene, who's fantastic. She's essentially, a second mom for the summer, as well. Just a really great leader, and helps stock the food or stock the homes, keep the homes comfortable, get you to and from the airport, so transportation, and really takes care of most of your needs that you have when you're a student there. So that is an option for people who are looking for somewhere to stay throughout the summer. But if you have friends and family in Thompson, and that's where you'd prefer to live, you're more than welcome to do that as well. Those are the accommodations. I don't think I've talked yet about who is eligible to apply, so I'll launch into that next. The application criteria is pretty simple, but I'll read through it just to make sure I don't forget anything here. So in order to be eligible to apply to the program, and also just to become a pilot in Canada. So a lot of these are legal requirements versus, something that we've arbitrarily chosen. But for the program, you have to be of Canadian Indigenous descent. So First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and, even though we talk a lot about Northern Manitoba, and of course our partnership is with MKO, any Indigenous Canadian is welcome to apply. There are no geographical borders to who can apply for this program. So if you're not from Northern Manitoba, that is okay. You're still eligible and welcome to apply. So that's the first criteria. The second, you must be a minimum of 18 years old. So legally an adult, you must have completed high school. And if you did your GED down the road, didn't complete high school necessarily at high school when you were young, that is absolutely fine. It's, the combination of those courses that equate to graduation. So if you have that, you're absolutely good to go. It's important that pilots are in good physical health and do not use drugs. That again it's a legal requirement in Manitoba, or excuse me, in Canada, to become a pilot. There is a certain medical examination that has to take place for anyone who wants to become a pilot in Manitoba. So applicants to the program have to be able to get through that medical exam successfully to hold a medical certificate to become a pilot. You have to hold a form of government ID. So you don't need to have a driver's license. We get that question a lot. If you have one, that's helpful, but you don't need one. So, a birth certificate, an identification card, those might be good to have. You will need your status card, and you will need, your last piece of documentation is your COVID vaccination card. Again, a legal requirement in Canada to be vaccinated against COVID-19 to be a pilot. So just to have that ready to go. And finally, to work out of a lot of airports in Canada down the road, you need to hold something called a restricted area identification card, which is basically an access card to access different airport environments. And that requires people to have a clean criminal record. So something to keep in mind as well. Often a DUI is not included in that. So another question we get often, if someone has a DUI on their record, that is generally overlooked. So don't worry too much about that. That's the application criteria. And finally, how to apply to this exciting opportunity if it does interest you. As I've said, MKO has published a website that talks about the program and provides links to this PDF And near the back of that PDF, it includes a URL that you can type into your web browser, and it takes you to our online application form, and you can fill it out there. Otherwise, you can actually print out that PDF, print out the application form that looks just like this, and fill it in by hand. You can either take a picture of it and email it to the address that's included here, or you can visit MKO or a band office or really any scanner and scan in the document that you filled out and have that emailed into our address as well, which is Indigenous Pilot Pathway at eig.ca. We'll say that again at the end, but it's, as I said, on MKO's website and on social media, so it should be pretty easy to find.
Thank you, Robin. I did have one question with that. For candidates that need to pass the medical requirements, is there any kind of program or something to help them get receive the okay?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So we know that being from a small community in Manitoba or in Northern Ontario, really anywhere in Canada, you might not have access to an aviation doctor specifically, but potentially any doctor. So what we did last year and what we'll continue to do this year, if you do want to apply but don't know whether you're going to be able to pass that medical examination, included in the application, there's a medical declaration that basically is a series of yes or no questions that sort of acts as a litmus test, if you will. So if your answer to most of those is no, you don't have this condition, you don't have this condition, you don't suffer from this. If the answer to most of those questions is no, you're probably good to go. So that's a great way to start. However, the third step in our application process for the program is actually to bring a doctor to you. So either we will, provide you transportation from your community to come to Winnipeg to visit a doctor, or we will bring a doctor to you. In either case, we take on the responsibility of making sure that you're connected with the medical services that you need to be able to get through that medical and to confirm that you're good to go before you're accepted into the program and, relocate to Thompson. So don't worry about that whatsoever.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. That's really great to hear. So for our next speaker, there is going to be Atik Mason. He is our pilot at Perimeter here, and take us away.
Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you for having me here, Jaden. It's great to be online talking about this program again in its second year. Something that when we were thinking about this program and bringing it all together, that it was like, so many First Nation education and training programs, have good intentions and begin to start, and then they kind of fizzle out of energy. But I don't see any of that happening this year, and I'm really, really happy to say that we're really excited to start into this second year. And to see the successes that we've had last year. It's good. Made shout out to all my people in, I don't know if you can see that. Well, no, it's not going to do it. Anyway, St. Teresa Point, what's up? If anybody's watching from St. Teresa Point, I love you guys. Thank you for the support. I see your comments every day and the pride that you see in the program as well. And the fellow pilots that came from St. Teresa Point did some training last year. So really happy about that as well. I guess I'm just here to talk a little bit about what it's like to be a pilot. It's obviously flying planes is what we do. My goal when I set out on this journey was to be flying in and out of my home community, which for somebody from not a reserve is potentially a little easier to grasp onto, right? If you worked for Canada or Air Canada or WestJet or something like that, maybe you live in Calgary or something. Lots of airlines fly there. And I didn't have a lot of choice really when I wanted to fly in and out of my reserve. It was either Perimeter or maybe a few other smaller airlines that work here. And so I'm really happy that I've been able to do that. And it's like we've been thinking over the last few years and so on that my father and I were having a conversation and said that it's time to bring others, and that's really what EIC and myself have endeavored to do. I work out of Winnipeg base. I was based in Thompson for a year. Kind of just I don't know what else to describe it as. Growing pains. You got to pay your dues sometimes in seniority and so on to get from one place to another. So when I was in Thompson, I wasn't really flying in and out of my home community yet because Perimeter didn't have any routes going in and out of there. But I was up there for a year, which was great because then I was actually on site for the program as well all of last year. And then I finally got Winnipeg base. So I'm based out here out of Winnipeg. Life as a pilot, well, you never really stop learning. And that's one of the things that I kind of took for granted when I first got into it. Is like, go and then become a pilot and then suddenly like, hey, I'm a pilot. But really, like, there's a lot of stuff to keep you going. You know what I mean? Like, you do have to continually learn throughout your entire career as a pilot. You know, so I've often made the little joke or the quip that if you show me a 20,000 hour pilot that says he's seen and knows everything, I'll show you the stupidest pilot I've ever met. So, you know, always continually learning and whatnot. So that's what I do. I fly the Dash 8, 100 and 300. You can look that up online if you want. It's an airliner plane that carries in its largest capacity up to 45 people in the back. We land in gravel strips up north. I'm sure you've seen the planes for those of you in northern communities, and for those of you in the south, I'm sure you've seen the type flying out of Winnipeg Airport. You work about approximately 16 days out of the month, and for a lot of people, they go, "Oh, that sounds great." You know, like, you know, it's like having a bunch of days off in the month and stuff. And while you do, the work is hard, especially when you work at an airline like Perimeter, you know, where we don't work out of major airports and so on. But it's an adventure. You know what I mean? Like, just because I'm de-icing my own plane or overwing fueling or, you know, potentially like throwing my own baggage in and out of the plane on some days, the type of flying we do, we don't get at any other company, you know, maybe in other parts of the world, but here in Canada, you know, if you fly for WestJet or something, you know, you're landing in and out of really nice airports. You guys have hopefully been in an airport where you've seen like all the baggage handlers and the belts and everything and whatever. And, you know, we don't have that. You know, we work a little harder, but man, oh man, is it cool. We see sights that nobody else sees. You know, we meet people, you know, on their community. It's like one doorway away to what the actual community is. You don't have to get out of an international airport and travel for 45 minutes in a bus or a cab or something to kind of get where you're going. It really, you're really connected with the people when you fly. And it's something I really, really appreciate. And flying in and out of the area that I fly into, you know, I understand enough of my language to kind of be conversational about it. So suddenly, all of a sudden, you know, on, you know, Transport Canada radio airwaves, you're hearing Ojibwe being spoken on the plane coming in and out of the communities, which was a really exciting thing for me too. So I'm flying currently as a first officer, and you know, that's kind of where I am right now, eventually to hopefully become a captain someday. And yeah, in and out, 16 days. Different regulations you'll learn about if you're selected for the program, about the hours that we work and what we do as well. So that's my day to day. Last summer was really special. I was able to be a part of the program on site, and I met 11 wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people, all of First Nations ancestry and of different backgrounds and from different places. And you know, it's just like any meeting of new people in the beginning, it was a little awkward. I had previously met all of them going to their reserve, like Robin said, to bring a doctor to do a medical and to do interviews for selection. And when they all came, it was kind of, you know, obviously it was the first year of the program and we were trying to figure out how things were going to go. And, you know, people were shy at first, like you normally were. They got to know each other a little bit. And, you know, once things started you know, really rolling, you know, you could really feel a cohesiveness in the room. And those 11 people are very, very special to me. So if any of you are watching right now, just know that I'm sending my love, and I can't wait to see some of you again this summer, to continue your training as well. My role last year was to kind of just, you know, kind of be there to teach. Obviously, I was teaching some ground school classes and teaching flights as well, going out on flights with some students as well. But very much on the outside, kind of not the outside, but kind of on the edges, kind of looking in and just making sure that things were running, you know, the way that we had the vision of making it run. And Robin was a large part of that too. She really had her hands in the river, if you will, you know, making things work on a day-to-day basis and making sure everyone was taken care of. And this program was really unique to everybody because we want to bring in this First Nations cultural aspect into education. I think that's been missing for a long time in Canada. Not to say that it's not out there in some institutions and whatnot, but you know, my father was involved in the program last year. Roy Mason was kind of, I hate to use the words elder in residence or whatever, but you know, like whenever we needed guidance, and especially for me while growing up and taking this journey as a pilot, whenever I needed cultural guidance. We went to him, and he was there as well to start to bring that sort of non-linear learning. Like you go to university or high school, right? And they say, oh, this is step one, this is step two, this is step three, this is step four. And if you miss one of those steps, like obviously you're not committed, or you don't want to do this, or you can't be a part of this moving forward. And that's not the First Nations philosophy at all behind it. It's a large part of it is knowing and observing and seeing, if people are ready to move forward. And that's where we are with this. Like, if we had a student last year who needed to go to Sundance, and Sundance was happening over a certain period, and it was in a certain province. And instead of saying, no, there's an exam that week, and if you don't make the exam, you're going to fail, we worked around what he needed to do in order to make it work. And so we provided transportation for him. We provided tobacco for him if he needed it for his ceremonies. We gave him the time off. We shifted some of his classes around to make it work. And it was his first year hosting a sweat lodge on his own. And we're very, very happy to do that in this sort of thing. It's not hard and rigid. You have to be ready. You have to present yourself for the learning and dedicate yourself to it. But that doesn't mean that if we see you struggling, that we're not able to try to work with you and figure it out. And, I'm very happy to say that that student, even though he was away for a while, or potentially missed a few flights on a schedule or whatever and so on, he's coming back, and he's a fully licensed private pilot now, and he's going to come back and do his commercial training this year with us. I'm very proud of him. I'm very proud of all of them. I'm very, very, I'm proud papa here. And, just the people that put in the work and dedicated to themselves and helped each other too. Like that was a large part of it as well. We hope that if you're into the program and you come up, that you open yourself up to that as well. Like there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, just like me when I was training and getting to where I was. And you can, I make myself available to the students. They all have my personal phone number. If they're having an issue or a hard day, they're texting me, they're calling me. We talk about things. They get along really well, and then sometimes they don't. In life, sometimes people don't get along, and we address that in a very traditional and cultural way as well. And without going into details, we did have a big issue last year, and I'm very happy to say that once we opened ourselves up to a reconciliatory sort of space and restorative justice type stuff, that that problem is no longer a problem. As a matter of fact, it's even better than it was before. So for the sake of privacy, I won't go into details, but like we're very proud of moments like that in this program, where we were able to overcome and learn about each other and learn about ourselves, and at the same time learn about what it is to be a pilot, and what that means as well, and what that means where you are. Hey, Nathan. Hey, Nathan's watching. Nathan, I love you, buddy. We'll see you in May. So my role this year in this year's program, it's going to be a little different, I think. And now that I'm situated in my second home in Winnipeg, I would say, like, my ancestry obviously traces through St. Chi's Point, and that's where both my parents work right now. And we're figuring that out, but I really hope that when it's all said and done, I'll still be able to offer the support and be visible and give energy to those people that are on this journey. And I'm hoping I can fly with some of you. I don't know. We're figuring it out. I still have a valid flight instructor's license. It's good for 2 years. So I'm looking forward, if like Nathan, for instance, dude, if you're going on across country and I'm in town, man, you better believe I'm going to be jumping in that right seat with you. And I suppose I'll let you collect the pick time. I don't know. We'll see. Of course he will. Of course, students first, right? But yeah, and I'm committed to the program for as long as it's around, which I hope is going to be many, 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 many years. And I'm very excited for what's to come. If you have questions, just fire it off to that email there or whatever, and be prepared. If you do apply and you don't get in this year, like I said, we're going to be around for many, many years, and to not give up. It's like we've told people last year who probably reapplied this year, if it's a no for that year because of just limited capacity or whatever, or just maybe you're still working on high school, and you're like one credit away or something like that. That doesn't mean no forever. It just means no this year. We're going to be around. Apply again next year. If it's as my father would say, things happen when they're meant to happen. So just keep at it and keep trying, and Yeah, I don't know. I could babble on for about 3 hours about this entire thing, but I think you get kind of the gist of it. As for the logistics of it and so on, you can dig into that pamphlet that Robin was talking about. That'll tell you like step by step how we're going to guide you through to becoming a pilot at one of these airlines. Um, yeah, or if you have any questions, you can type them in the comments, and I've got it up here, and I can always just butt in a little bit later and answer something for you if you want. Yeah, I'm really excited and looking forward to it, and yeah, thanks for having me here today, Jaden. This is great.
Thank you, Tick. We really appreciate that. It sounds like a really wonderful atmosphere and opportunity for our youth. Kevin, did you want to have any comments on anything that you've heard from Robin and Atik?
Well, first of all, I think what I really want to do is extend our appreciation on behalf of MKO to the Exchange Income Corporation, EIC, for creating this opportunity, giving back to our MKO First Nations. As you've heard in the broadcast, getting a pilot's license is not an inexpensive endeavor. I was thinking back in my entire 25, 26 years working in northern Manitoba. I can think of Fred Muskego and David Dantuzzi from Norway House and Lac Brochet that I've had an opportunity to sit alongside in a plane that they flew. And seeing those youth last fall and the pride that their families and communities had in them, whether they were from Cross Lake, Opaskwayak, Sapatoyak, St. Teresa Point, just seeing how, it's the very first step, but the love and appreciation the community had for them is nothing short of phenomenal and inspiring. Those are the role models going forward, and I get a kick. I'm going to ask Atik to tell this story that he shared with us last year. But I spend a lot of time in the airports in the north, waiting for my flight, and I hang around with our ground agents and ground crew in their offices, and you hear the pilots calling out how far they are away and when they'll be landing. And sometimes the ground crew doesn't respond right away. Now imagine if you're in the airport in Garden Hill and you hear this coming over. Atik, tell that story.
I was flying with my captain. He's a 17-year tenured captain at Perimeter who has been wearing different hats for the company for many, many years, and finally, I think, has finally settled into what he's doing, which is being a captain out of Thompson, and has a really nice house on the lake and has his regular hours and everything or whatever. He's all set. Anyway, he's a particular character. When you first meet him, you might kind of think he's a little standoffish, or that he just is not a personable person, but the fact is that once you kind of crack that shell, there's a nice little soft underbelly in him. And if you're watching, thank you for all your teachings over that year in Thompson. You really helped me to get to where I am, so thank you. Anyway, I'm flying with him, and like I said, he's very like A, B, C, D. We were flying a charter plane out of Flin Flon, high school students from St. Teresa Point and Island Lake. And just like you said, he said over the radio, St. Teresa Point, it's perimeter 1049, and they didn't answer. And he needed to say when we were coming. And, a few of our students from last year have employment with the company and do some of that ground crew that you're talking about. And so they know they need to get our power unit out, and they potentially need to do seat backs or bring us big buckets of water to put in the back of the plane to keep, learn about weight and balance too, and make sure the plane is in balance. And it's better for them to have it set up and ready so that when we land, we can get it done and try to stay on schedule. So that we give them a heads up. And so he called again. He said, it's perimeter 1040. We're inbound with your students, and nobody was answering. And So I looked at Brad and I said, "Do you mind if I give it a shot?" And the radio inside the airports is loud enough that everybody in the airport can hear it. So if they were just ignoring it or they were busy, I don't know. I love you, St. Therese. But and so I said, "Okay," and I was like, "St. Therese Point, does it get induction?" And then boom, the whole place of the radio came up. Okay, how long do you need to come down here? We get the power unit for you, and it's how many minutes? I was just like, Brad looked over at the cockpit at me, and he was just like, "How'd you do that?" And I just looked at him. I was like, "Don't worry, buddy. This is my place. I got you." So yeah, looking forward to a lot more Ojibwe on the radio, or Cree, or Dene, or whatever language you got, man. Let's go. Let's do it.
And I think that's the point that we need to make out of this whole program. Those ground crews, those check-in agents, those are our family, and they know what we go through to travel back and forth to Thompson or Winnipeg or wherever. But having that pilot, having that first officer, having that flight attendant hold those positions from our communities is going to make the future really, really bright. Because if you want to have long-term stability in the North, then you fill those careers with Northern people. And this is the opportunity for our MKO students and young people to take this right to the sky.
I really, really appreciate those words. That's thank you for that, and that inspires a lot of hope, I think, to anybody who's listening. I just do want to make a small point though. We're focusing on youth right now, but if there's anybody out there who's watching who's a little older, I started when I was 35, and there's no age limit on this program. So we are encouraging our next generation and youth and so on, but we also need people who are mature and can be potential leaders and so on in this group. I'm really looking to the second year students that are coming in with bars on their shoulders. They've earned their bar. It's a single gold bar on their epaulettes that they received at graduation. They're gonna have to wear it this summer and wear it with pride and responsibility. And for those new people that are coming in next year, to be role models and to help each other out. We're a community, no matter where we are from across Canada, First Nations people, we work together. And I don't think they know yet, but they've got some work cut out for them this summer, not just flying, but also helping our new baby pilots, whether you're 35 or 18 years old, to do next year. And it's funny. It's not funny. Sorry, it was a serendipitous actually that we had 7 graduating members last year, and that our people hold very sacred 7 sacred teachings. There's something going on there. I'm not sure what it is, and I haven't figured it out yet, but I think that will definitely play a large part in our program this summer. It just so happened to be 7 of them. So yeah, I don't know, Mother Earth's doing something. We'll figure it out.
And I think, Jaden, one last thing that I'd like to point out is this is geared for success. Over the years of seeing our post-secondary students learning, one of the biggest struggles has always been that loss of connection to home. And the fact that the folks at the EIC have zeroed in on that and make it possible for these future pilots to take a little family break if they need to, get them home. Even something simple that we take for granted about getting out on the land when it's time to harvest a moose or go after the geese when they're migrating. If you miss that, it really can impact on somebody's psyche and have them feeling so much more homesick. So that ability, along with having the live-in setting and the residence elder or spiritual help that we've got established in Thompson, I think really makes this program unique and as successful as it is.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. I think it's really great that our youth and not quite so young youth, I should say, our 35-year-olds, get to have that experience through EIC. I agree. I did want to ask Rob and Atik, when is the deadline for this opportunity? Can we share that?
Absolutely, great point. So the application portal is open now. We're already receiving applications. In fact, over the last couple of days, we've received, I think, 37 applications. So clearly lots of interest already. We're so pleased to see So many people jumping on this opportunity. So the first stage of application, exactly what we've been talking about today, is open until Friday, February 17th. So that gives everyone a little over 2 weeks from today to get those documents together, to consider the opportunity, and to apply. The application itself doesn't take more than about 10 minutes. So yeah, I encourage anyone who meets the criteria and who's interested in learning more about it to apply or reach out to that email address to get your questions answered, because I'm more than happy to answer anything that's on your mind before you actually hit apply.
Thank you. And I've got one last one for you. How many students are you accepting this year?
Absolutely. So last year, our entire capacity for the program was about 12 students, and we are bumping that up by at least 50% this year, which is super, super exciting. We're going from 2 aircraft in Thompson to 4 aircraft in Thompson, from 3 full-time instructors to at least 5 full-time instructors. So it is pretty exciting. So we are looking at, with our returning students who are coming back, we're looking at adding an additional 10 PPL level students who are starting for the first time. So we should have about 18 students in Thompson this summer.
Well, that's really great to hear. I'm glad that there's going to be like more opportunities for these pilots to come in.
Absolutely. So, it's just going to grow from here. It's just going to get bigger yet, but
it really is. It's like Kevin said, the sky is literally the limit in this case.
Literally. Yeah.
We haven't received any questions on our Facebook Live here, so we don't have anything else that we need to ask for you guys, but I will let everyone listening on Facebook know that I'm going to put the website into the comments here, so you guys can check out on our MKO page. It is at mkonation.com/Atik Mason Indigenous Pilot Pathway. I will put it there though, so you can just click it. And thank you guys very much for tuning in. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. If anyone wants to say their goodbyes.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, MKO, for hosting this today and for giving us the opportunity to spread the word. And I'm just so excited to see all of your applications come in and your questions come in. Talk to you then.
Thanks so much, everyone. And I know we'll be excited to meet all the new pilots in Thompson this spring.
Yeah, hopefully somebody listening out there right now is going to be somebody I'm going to meet this summer. So that would be great. And yeah, hey, Nathan, if you're free this afternoon, give me a shout. Okay, that's all. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you again. And thank you, Robin and Atik. We really appreciate you guys being here from EIC. Have a good day. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.